Alrighty, this is Resurrected Hobbyist with part 7 of my look at pairs. Last time we left off, KP was having a rather emotional scene and was going into a bit of a meltdown kind of state. And James, pleaded with Mel to, do something. And Mel was like, okay, here's emergency authorization, tell her to get on the ship. So got on the ship and then realized, oh, right, KP just brought her boyfriend that her father doesn't approve of home. So let's see where this goes. Now, this man. Have I misjudged him, Mel? I do not know, Princess. I stare at his sleeping form, not sure what to think. Mel, is it possible? Do I have his loyalty or his love? That's a good one. I feel like from a cultural point, she would be expecting his loyalty. But as I've hinted, I've gotten the impression that she is being changed through her interactions with humanity. So she would be thinking about love. I'm going to say love on the idea that she's going to try and continue being rebellious and go for the human idea as opposed to the Negan idea. So, let's see what happens. Could it be possible that he's actually fallen in love with me? I do not know, Princess. Well, thanks, Mel. That's a huge help. I want it to be true. I think that more than loyalty, a human's love, I trail off. Not a human's love, James's love. James' love would be nice. I lay back down in my pod and shut the roof, pressing my hand against the cushioned side. I can see his silhouette lying on the floor. This isn't right. I climb out and crouch beside him. Carefully lifting James, I cradle his delicate human frame in my arms, then lower him into my pod. Ooh boy. I kneel beside him, lean my head against the edge of the pod, watching him breathe. Thank you, James. I whisper the words by his ears, but he barely stirs. Mel sends me a warning. Human sleep cycles are a recommended 7 to 9 hours for the average adult male. It has only been 6 hours since he resumed sleep. Admittedly, I'm kind of curious as to what her sleep pod actually does for her, because we've heard her mention it regulates her in some fashion. I can't remember the exact line. I think it was talking about her having a meltdown. So, what effect will that have on a human occupant? I just realized that this is not recording properly. There we go. Okay, where was I? Please wait a minimum allotted time of 1 hour before waking him. Do Nans have a more... what's the word? I guess, like, with a human, you can wake them up, without having a full night's sleep. Lord knows I've had multiple nights where I didn't get enough sleep. Nights, hell, I've had years I didn't have enough sleep. But, like with a Nan, I know they have an emotional control problem where if they get too worked up, too emotional, they, what was the phrase he used? I can't remember, meltdown, I think it was. Still a little unclear on what that is, outside of it being detectable on sensors. But do the Nans have a more demand for sleep than humans do? If you wake a human up early, it's not great, but they're not likely to have a nuclear reaction either. It kind of suggests that a Nayan might have that problem from being awoken early. But anyway, it just kind of goes back to my question about, what the sleep pod does for a human occupant versus a Nayan. Stroking his hair gently, I comply, waiting for him to wake up. I can't believe I only have 2 days left on this planet. The painful thought pierces me in the chest, but my skin feels cool. On the ship, I'm safe from overheating. That was a phrase I'm trying to remember, overheating. Reaching out, I twirl the strands of his bangs around my fingers. I wish he weren't a human. Funny how I wanted his loyalty, and he ended up with mine. I watched him breathe slowly, carefully. I pull my hand away, trying not to stir him. The time passes by, agonizingly slow. I want to ask Mel if it's okay to wake him, but I reach out again, and in that moment, James wakes up. He blinks at me, then stares at my hand. I pull away quickly. James. Noya? When he stares at me, it's like my whole body's burning, but in a very different kind of heat. I stand, abruptly. We need to get back to Earth. I'm sure May is worried about you. James sits up, rubbing his eyes. Yeah, we should. I help him out of the pod, then step forward to embrace him in the usual way. This time, though, is it possible? Before we go, I wrap my arms around him and lean my head against his chest. Thank you for saving me. I'm sorry for overreacting. James relaxes in his arms, in my arms, maybe for the first time. Then abruptly he stiffens, maybe out of shock, maybe out of surprise, maybe out of revulsion. I can't understand him. Maybe that's okay. Noya, I have something to tell you. He pushes back gently on my shoulders, taking a step back. I want to tell you why I agreed to be claimed. He takes a deep breath, his eyebrows scrunched together. We talked about a lot of things that night we went stargazing, so I don't know if you remember what I told you about my parents, but when we initially dated, I thought that maybe there was a chance that your dad could bring them back. I don't mean to, but I take a step back, then another. The thought doesn't seem to fully compute. You agreed because of Daddy? Well, you did establish your dad can alter reality. A wave of feelings come over me. Hurt, disgust. Some of them I can't even name. And then, strangely, they all melt into one and settle into resignation. I take a seat. So, there wasn't anything about me that you found appealing? I trail off. Of course not, but I don't want to hear him say whatever he's thinking about me anyway. I feign being aloof. Well, I guess it's best to find out now, rather than going home thinking that you might actually miss me. But Noya, listen. I stand, clapping my hand over his mouth. It's okay, really. I always suspected there was a reason. I just wrongly thought it was curiosity. Or maybe because you feared me. But all in all, I think it doesn't matter what the real reason turned out to be. The outcome is still the same for us. Tell you what, I'll ask Daddy if he can bring your parents back as a parting gift. I think that, for all my human experiences, I had a lot of fun with you. I pull my hands away from his mouth and try my best not to look him in the eyes as I shuffle through the pods, blanketing to find my visor. I swear, I can't actually read. I could just easily tell Mel to take us down remotely, but these minutes ticking away are few. I just need a few more moments with him. Really? Yes. But James put his hand on my shoulder to stop me. What will happen to us? Excuse me? In the alternate universe or whatever, if my parents are back, then that means everything will change, doesn't it? What will happen to you and me? Or me and you? He gestures between us. To this. Nothing. There won't be an us. Every universe has its own strange combination of events that lead to something specific happening, like us being together in this one. Unless I specifically asked to forget, I would sense the shift automatically, pretty much because I'm Daddy's blood. You, on the other hand, won't remember me, and by extension, anything about us at all. So, wait a minute. I think I missed something somewhere here. I thought her father had the capacity to alter reality, not move between different universes. This seems to imply that he's not actually changing this universe. He's basically saying, okay, I'll move you from this universe and put you in this one. I don't know. I'm gonna keep going. I feel like that got conveyed wrong, or I processed it wrong. No. When Daddy shifts, there are no guarantees. Not that you will know me at all, or that you'll love me. Kitten? Sorry, it's nothing. I was upset about it before, but even I know when to admit defeat. This planet is strong in more than one way, and I want you to succeed. James stares at me in disbelief. So, you're not angry? I shrug. You don't want to beat me up, or why would I do that? If you were still my claimed, maybe I could be obliged to express that anger, but that is not the Nayan way. You are no longer tied to me, so I am not entitled to act on any anger I feel from actions you took during our dating period, as you would call it. So I'm not entitled to act on any anger I feel. Huh. Okay. Besides, you told me the truth even though I could crush you into the ceiling. Why the ceiling? I mean, I like the variety of it not being the floor or the wall, but I'm just like, why is that where she goes? Like, is it just because she's heard the floor or something? Whatever. Like I said, strong. Are you ready to go back yet? James seems frozen in disbelief. He grabs my shoulders, his eyes distraught. Kitten, the Nayan way feels wrong. What do you mean? I don't know. I just know that this isn't right. Fine, what is the human way? What do you want me to do to you? Rip out my heart, throw it in a blender, hit frappe? I mean, that's what girlfriends usually do. Anything you want. You can punch me, slap me, whatever. Okay, and we're going back to James's kinky. I blink at him. What a foolish suggestion. I don't think he'd survive either way. He shuts his eyes and takes a step back. Do whatever you'd like to me. I deserve it. I look at him standing there with his eyes shut, jaws set, fist clenched, and a rush of something I can't quite name touches me. Affection? Affection. Whatever I'd like, huh? I take a step forward, then another, and undo his pants. And I press my mouth directly against his neck. He stays shock still until he feels the nip of my teeth grazing his skin lightly. Then, belatedly, he jerks away in shock, his eyes shooting open as he stumbles away from me. Sorry, I know that's not appropriate to do with someone you haven't claimed, but you did say anything. He did. I just wanted one last kiss to remember you by, the Nayan way. Come on, let's go back to Earth. I step toward him, but James steps back. James, stop this. May is waiting for you. Who said I wasn't claimed? What do you mean? I just did. It's actually a really good question. Like, how does the breakup work in Nayan culture? Like, does it have to be a mutual thing? Can one unclaim the other? I guess that's what you would call it, unclaiming them? Like whatever the Nayan version of dumping is. And what's the social response to that? Food for thought. And what about you then? Who said you weren't claimed? I open my mouth, then close it, biting my lip. I thought it was clear that I'm going back to Venori. You cannot claim me. I mean, long-distance relationships are a thing, KP. I'm just saying. I stare at him. Why can't I claim you? I grit my teeth. Humans are so stubborn. James, you're too bossy, you know? You make decisions about us without even asking me what I think. You do this the Nayan way, and do that the Nayan way. Why don't we try the human way for once? Well, for one thing, I think the human way is more convoluted, so it's going to be a lot more trouble explaining it. I stare at him, wide-eyed. The human way? Yes. Meaning... He hangs his arms around my neck. His expression is strangely confident. We decide things together. We can even do it democratically, like I make a suggestion and you vote. Not exactly democratic when only one person has a vote. Okay. He pauses. Just one thing first, though. I have to say I'm sorry. I didn't think you would be happy with me if I told you the real reason I started this whole mess. Except I started this whole mess. Even Daddy said it was unwise for me to take claim of a human, and even if you started it, Noya, I didn't have to accept. That's another good point. Like, are love triangles a thing for Nayans? Like, what's the social response to that? Like, if a Nayan female claims a Nayan male, but that Nayan male claims a different female, what happens? Would the me from back then have let you say no? Touché. Even so, Noya, I don't think I'm with you for the same reason I started out. It makes me sound terrible, but I started looking forward to you coming by the shop every day. I mean, to be fair, working at a baker in a pastry shop probably got a little boring, and she doesn't seem like the type who would casually stroll in and do anything. Having a 21 gun salute from the cops every time she comes in probably adds some excitement to the day. I'm just saying. Even after you broke that window display. So yeah, I mean, when I call it, I call it. It was always crazy, and some of those gifts were wild, but thanks anyway. I don't know what he's getting at. You're welcome. If the memories aren't painful, then you can keep them to remember me by. I'm really not sure if that's like the Nayan way of saying, I hope you'll always remember me, or like she's being literal and part of the breakup process, I guess, for Nayans is a mind wipe. Or at least selective memory erasure. No. Excuse me? Not to remember you by, to remember you before I see you for the day. I don't want you to leave. So here's my human suggestion number 1. You stay. Oh yeah, that's gonna go well. Mm-hmm. Yay or nay? He insists on my answer, but I protest. But Daddy, we'll figure out what to do about your dad later. Just yay or nay. Do you want to stay or not? Okay, so number one, you didn't ask if she wants to stay. Yeah, let me just, zip it back. Right. Yeah. So, first suggestion, you stay. It's not my question is, do you want to stay? It's, no, you stay. That's the idea. And it's like, excuse me. And now you're saying, do you want to stay? Come on, James. Work this out, dude. Clear, concise language. I know communication is hard, but do it. He stares into my eyes, a placid look on his face. Wrapping my arms around him, I squeeze him tightly against my body. I don't want to let go. I want to stay. He lets out a relieved, shuddery breath and slides his arms away from my shoulders to around me, his voice a low murmur. Good. I want you to stay too. Now what? I'm going to be a little bit cruel and say I'm going to go ahead and end part 7 here. So, this kind of went exactly where I thought it was going to go for the most part. Admittedly, I'm still holding out for Daddy to come in and see his daughter with the unwanted boyfriend in the bedroom scenario, but on a galactic scale. I think that'd be hilarious. But I don't actually think that's going to happen. That's probably clear on that. So, be sure to join me for part 8 of Pairs.